morning, everyone. So, by show of hands, how many of you would eat this dog? Oh, man.
Hit the right button,
Yeah, it's up, right?
the back button.
Up. Okay, so how many of you would eat this? Yeah, for sure. So, today I'm going to talk to you guys about animal cruelty. So, like I showed you guys in the first slide, Little Cute Puppy is food in some countries. Some countries like Asia, well, a lot of places in Asia, mainly China. Mexico actually, Aztecs used to eat dogs too. So dogs to us are, friends, they're companions, but some people, they're just food. Americans are completely, they're just appalled about like the fact that people actually eat dogs. But what they need to understand is that, it's a culture more than anything. So the three things that I'm going to talk to you about today are cultural beliefs, industrial farming, and animal testing. Those are just three of the many ways that animals are, hurt. And so first off, I want to talk to you guys about how many dogs are actually killed in China. Around 10 million dogs and 4 million cats are slaughtered for the dog meat trade each year. I think more than anything, we're just Americans. We think that it's completely inhumane, which it is, but I think we have to realize that it's not any different than what we do to our farm animals. Some of these dogs that are slaughtered are not farm dogs. Some of them are just like pets that they steal from people. Because obviously not everyone in China eats dogs. Some people have dogs as pets, and those dogs are sometimes stolen from owners, just to be killed for food. Some people believe in China that dog meat cures certain diseases. Sometimes they also believe in that it's certain dogs, like for example, be a black dog, that it'll like bring some type of like positive, vibes or whatever. The biggest festival that is held is the Yuling Festival, and that festival goes on every year in June. Pretty much they gather a bunch of dogs and cats and just pretty much sell them to, it's like a farmer's market, but pretty much for dogs and cats to be killed. So they pretty much, that's usually when all the dogs that are kidnapped from their owners are taken to this festival and sold to people that want to consume their meat. So like I mentioned before, this tradition of eating dogs may seem crazy to us, but it's not any different than what we do to our beef, which leads to my other point of industrial farming. Industrial farming so according to the Humane Society in 2016, 4.14 billion animals were slaughtered for food. That total includes cattle, chicken, ducks, hogs, sheep, lambs, and turkey. That does not include all the fish we eat, like sushi and all that other stuff. But in good news, this actually has decreased in 2006. It was at 9.2 billion, so I think that has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people are choosing not to eat meat. So we are moving towards the right direction with saving animals. So along with the industrial farming, a lot of So this is a picture just to show you how crowded these industrial farms are. You see how they are so close together. That's where the animal cruelty comes in. A lot of these chickens actually are debeaked, so pretty much they have their beak completely chopped off because they're so close in proximity that they'll attack each other. They're also do this thing called docking, which is removing tails for little piglets, because, like I said, they're so close in range that these animals will bite each other's tails. Tooth clipping is also used on newborn piglets, so same thing to prevent each other from biting each other. And then castration on cattle, because it's known to taste, I guess meat tastes better. So then that leads to my last point. The last form of animal cruelty is animal testing. More than 100 million animals are killed due to animal testing each year, according to the Humane Society International. So this is just kind of to show you, most girls here, I'm sure, use makeup. A lot of the time, or even lotions, anything that you use on your body, a lot of it's been animal tested. But good news is, California is actually the first state to ban cosmetic testing. After 2019, so long as it will be allowed. And animal testing is actually very unnecessary. In fact, the data shows that animal studies fail to predict real human outcomes in 50 to 99.7%. So just because the animal reacted well does not mean that we're going to react well, because obviously we're not animals, we're humans. And this is, personally, I think this is the worst type of animal cruelty, because these animals usually die slow deaths because they suffer from toxic chemicals. They're pretty much water deprived. They don't, they're kept in like small cages. In conclusion, it is important to be a conscious eater and a consumer of products. It is easy to miss the millions of animals that are suffering and dying due to our eating habits. Thank you.
Yeah, we gotta watch you when somebody cook. One person in class, raise your hand.
I would never eat that. That would be awful.
I don't eat a dog, but I eat cows, so. I'm not trying to be mean. They eat pork chops, so I tried to be a vegetarian, that ain't good.
Vegetarian and
I see what
I would never eat that. It's like not eating any carbs.
So Augie, some thoughts?
So I know the topic, animal cruelty, and you also laid out, culture, industry, and the testing, which was very good. And the examples you used were nice, the cute dog, who would eat that and all that. Sort of the thing I would work on is when you did go look at your paper, which you didn't do too often, but when you did, you sort of like had it up in your face, sort of keep it lower. Other than that, I think it's pretty good. That's mainly just all I'd work on was the paper in the face.
Yeah.
That's about it.
All right, I think that the topic's a little crooked here. You're going in three different directions. You got three animal-related issues that you're talking about. but that's the only connection that they have. And I don't really see a purpose statement that unifies all those things. It seems to me like one of those would have been the way to focus on your speech and make it work a little bit better. Talking about the dog food trade, or the trade in dogs as food in China, for instance, that I think could have been a speech in and of itself. Talking about animal cruelty, either as the food processing issue or as the testing issue. Those would be topics in and of themselves. But the only thing that's connecting them is that they're about animals. And I think that without a stronger purpose statement, it really feels like I'm going in different directions each time. At first, I will point out that this also sounds like it's a persuasive speech. In the long run, especially when you get to the end, it sounds like it's advocacy of not consuming animals, not using animals for testing kinds of things, and and interestingly enough, tolerating the culture in another place where they do eat animals, which is completely confusing given their perspective on the other two things. So it feels a little bit weird, like I said, that you're going in these different directions, and it is still more persuasive than it is informative. You do tell us what the supporting structure is going to be at the beginning of the speech, like I said, and that's topical. I've already explained the problem that I had with the way they are connected to each other. I didn't hear any sources for this whole section on the Chinese dog trade, but I did hear more information when you got to issues related to the number of animals that are consumed around the world on a regular basis, and a little bit of factual data and some information on the animal testing issue. You define a couple of terms here and there. We get debeaking and docking as explanations. Although you're a little bit uncertain about a couple of things, what the castration has done, that sort of thing. So I think that there needs to be a little bit more background, and that's why I think you need to pick one of these issues to talk about instead of trying to stick them all into one soup, so to speak. I think this needs to be separated out a little bit. The visual materials bounced around a little bit on it at the beginning. They don't really add information. They mostly are about interest and creating a little bit of focus as we're listening. They don't add anything to the content of the speech. So they're there. They develop a little bit of interest, and you kind of use them to create transitions, although they often feel like they're coming in after you've transitioned to another section of material. On the delivery issues, the paper in front of your face, I didn't notice that as much. What I did notice was, you got the nervous feet. There's a lot of swaying that's going on here. When we're about to talk about delivery issues, that's going to be our next subject. And body movement is one of those things that becomes something that people have to focus on a little bit. And you've got this kind of Hawaiian movement. It's like you're doing the hula while you're speaking. So that's mostly anxiety coming out, and what you want to do is you want to channel that into your speech. There are ways to do that, and we'll talk about those kinds of things. All right, thank you. So that brings up Brian, who's a make good from our first day, and Kevin is supposed to do the written evaluation, and since Robert's a non-entity, Jay wanted to do this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Written ordinances?
The oral evaluation?
Okay, so
Yeah,
I replaced my grant from this one.
from the other one
Yeah.
that you missed, yeah.